Car companies spent billions trying to kill the V8, and they failed. Emission rules, fuel prices, electric motors, none of it could silence that unmistakable growl, because a few engines were just too good to die. These weren't ordinary V8s, they broke records, shattered expectations, and in some cases, embarrassed engines twice their price. Today, we're looking at 7 V8s that changed everything. From track legends to engineering miracles, these engines didn't just make power, they made history. And we're starting with one that turned junkyard swaps into an entire global movement. Let's have a look. If there's a universal language for car enthusiasts, it's LS swap. The General Motors LS series didn't just power Corvettes and Camaros, it rewrote what a performance engine could be. Debuting in 1997 with the C5 Corvette's LS1, it was a clean-sheet redesign of GM's legendary small block, an all-aluminum 5.7-liter V8 with pushrod simplicity, lightweight, and near-perfect reliability. It made 345 horsepower right out of the gate, but what made it special was its potential. The architecture was so robust that tuners could double or triple its output without cracking the block. It's compact, cheap, and absurdly durable. That's why you'll find LS engines in everything from old pickup trucks to Ferraris, drift cars, Miatas, and even boats. It became a phenomenon, a power plant so versatile that it blurred the line between hobby and obsession. And it wasn't just a cult favorite, it became a global standard. Over 30 million vehicles have been powered by LS-based engines since 1997, from factory muscle cars to backyard projects. That's not just popularity, that's dominance. Even decades later, the LS platform evolved. LS2, LS3, LS7. Each one more refined, lighter, and stronger. The LS7's titanium connecting rods and 7.0-liter displacement turned it into a track monster that powered the Corvette Z06 and Camaro Z/28. You can buy one from a scrapyard, bolt on a turbo, and make supercar-level power for pennies. That's not an exaggeration. It's what thousands of enthusiasts have done. But what if you took the opposite route, building a V8 so refined it could idle smoother than a sewing machine? That's where Toyota comes in. When the Lexus LS400 debuted in 1989, it shook the luxury world. Japan had built a car that could challenge Mercedes and BMW at their own game, and under its hood was the secret weapon, the Toyota One, UZ-FE, a 4.0-liter, all-aluminum V8 with dual overhead cams, 32 valves, and tolerances so tight they embarrassed European engineers. Toyota didn't design it to win drag races, they built it to never break. It was quiet, smooth, and overbuilt to a degree that bordered on insanity. Forged crankshaft, 6-bolt main caps, and internals strong enough to handle racing abuse decades later. The One UZ was tested to extremes, run at redline for 300 hours straight, frozen, overheated, torn down, rebuilt, and tested again. It just kept running. Many owners still daily drive 30-year-old LS400s with over 400,000 kilometers on the original motor. Tuners discovered that this calm, polite luxury engine could handle boost far beyond what Toyota ever intended. Supercharged One UZs started popping up in drift cars and off-road builds, earning it cult status. Did you know? Lexus engineers placed a glass of champagne on the intake manifold during testing. The engine ran at 6,000 RPM without spilling a drop. This engine proved that performance didn't have to shout. It could whisper and still be unstoppable. But across the ocean, one German company decided subtlety wasn't enough. Their V8 would scream, and it would be built by hand. The AMG badge has always meant power, but in 2006, it meant something else: pride. The M156 V8 was the first engine designed entirely in-house by AMG. No Mercedes blueprints, no shared parts, just raw, unfiltered engineering. A 6.2-liter naturally aspirated beast producing over 500 horsepower. It powered the C63, E63, and SLS AMG, and it sounded like thunder. Each engine was hand-built in a Falterbach by a single technician, whose name was engraved on a small plaque atop the intake. One man, one engine. This was the golden age of AMG, before turbos, before filters, before regulations softened the sound. The M156 revved hard, pulled clean, and delivered torque from idle to redline. The exhaust crackled, snarled, and echoed through tunnels in a way that made even supercar owners turn their heads. Sure, it had issues: head bolts, cam adjusters, lifter noise, but enthusiasts forgave every flaw because of the emotion it delivered. It was mechanical art that came with a warranty. To this day, ask any Mercedes fan what the best AMG engine ever made was, and you'll hear the 6.2. But not all legendary V8s were born on racetracks. Some were born in quiet British factories and went on to outlive their creators. If that kind of craftsmanship still speaks to you, give this video a like and subscribe. It lets us know there are still people who care about engines built by hand, not software. The Bentley L series is less an engine and more a living fossil. First introduced in 1959 for the Bentley S2 and Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud, it's the longest continuously produced V8 in history. Originally a 6.2-liter engine made for smooth, silent power, it grew into a 6.75-liter twin-turbocharged powerhouse that stayed in production until 2020, over 60 years. That's longer than the lifespan of most car brands. Through the decades, it evolved from carburetors to fuel injection to twin turbos, but it never lost its soul. The modern versions used in Bentleys like the Mulsanne and Brooklands produced up to 530 horsepower and over 1,100 Newton-meters of torque, enough to move 3 tons of handcrafted luxury with effortless grace. What made it special wasn't just power, it was the character. The L series was tuned for smoothness above all. At idle, you could balance a coin on the valve cover. Press the throttle and it didn't roar, it surged, like a tidal wave of torque. The fact that the same core engine design lasted over 6 decades shows just how far ahead Rolls-Royce engineers were in the 1950s. But while Bentley was refining old-world power, Ford was quietly preparing a new V8 that would bring muscle roaring back into the modern age. When Ford revived the 5.0 badge in 2011, fans expected nostalgia. What they got was revolution. The Coyote V8 was built to compete with the world's best, not just Camaro or Challenger engines. This 5.0-liter, all-aluminum, dual overhead cam V8 produced 412 horsepower out of the box and revved to 7,000 RPM, unheard of for an American pushrod legacy. Ford engineers gave it variable valve timing, coil-on plug ignition, and a forged bottom end that could take serious punishment. Its biggest strength? Adaptability. The same engine that powered a Mustang GT could also live under the hood of an F-150 or a Restomod 69 fastback. It could idle in traffic or rip through a track day without complaint. And tuners took it even further. Add a supercharger and you're easily pushing 700 horsepower with daily drivability. The Gen 3 and Gen 4 variants improved even more. Stronger internals, higher compression, and direct injection. The Coyote marked Ford's comeback in the V8 wars, a modern engine with old-school heart. But while the Coyote chased power through innovation, another company was chasing perfection with a V8 that could out-rev superbikes. The BMW S65 is the kind of engine that makes engineers emotional. Derived from the brand's F1-inspired V10, it's a 4.0-liter, naturally aspirated V8 that powered the 2008 to 2013 M3. It doesn't make outrageous torque, and it doesn't need to. It revs to 8,400 RPM, and it loves it. Every pull feels like it's winding up a spring that never wants to let go. Producing 414 horsepower and 400 Newton-meters of torque, the S65 was engineered for precision. The throttle response was instantaneous. No turbos, no delay, just pure connection between your right foot and the engine's heartbeat. BMW used exotic materials, sodium-filled valves, individual throttle bodies, and an 11.0:1 compression ratio. It was so balanced that even its vibrations were tuned to feel right. Yes, it had issues with rod bearings and maintenance costs, but every drive reminded you why it existed, to prove that internal combustion could still be an art form. When the next M3 arrived with a turbocharged inline-6, purists cried foul. They missed the S65's song, a naturally aspirated scream that no turbo can replicate. But just when the world thought they'd seen it all, Chevrolet teamed up with Lotus to build something completely different, a V8 born from racing, precision, and madness. In the late 1980s, Chevrolet wanted the Corvette to destroy everything in its path, including European supercars. To do that, they turned to Lotus in England and Mercury Marine in Wisconsin. And the result? The LT5. The first LT5, introduced in 1990 for the Corvette ZR1, was unlike any other American V8. It wasn't a pushrod design at all. It was a 5.7-liter, 32-valve, dual overhead cam masterpiece. Built by hand, it made 375 horsepower, nearly 100 more than a Ferrari 348 of the same year. It was so ahead of its time that most mechanics didn't even know how to service it, but on the road, it was flawless. Smooth, responsive, and capable of running flat out for hours without overheating. It proved America could do refined performance just as well as anyone. 3 decades later, the LT5 name returned in the 2019 Corvette ZR1. This time, a 6.2-liter supercharged monster making 755 horsepower and 715 pound-feet of torque. It became the most powerful production Corvette ever built. The LT5's legacy is proof of what happens when American engineering meets European finesse. Brutal, elegant, and just a little bit insane. So what ties them all together? The simple fact that every one of these V8s refused to follow trends. They set them. 7 engines, 7 milestones in mechanical history. The V8 was never just about horsepower, it was about attitude, that mix of noise, power, and defiance that built entire car cultures. They tried to replace it with silence and screens, but a great V8 doesn't need updates or software. It just needs fuel and a reason to exist. And as long as there's someone willing to turn the key, the legend isn't going anywhere. So if you're one of them, hit like, subscribe, and drop your favorite V8 in the comments, because as long as people still care, they'll keep building them.